to do it. I did that one time and I'm like, that will never happen again. My whole call didn't get recorded. So wonderful. I'm just going to give everyone a second to get on. Some are able to, some are on the replay, but I got my little lunch here. I tell you what, I'm so glad to be back to like eating the food that I love. And not that I didn't enjoy the foods that we ate on vacation, but I just know how much my body just craves the clean food and the way that I cook it. I'm kind of snotty about that because I just like what I like, you know?
Definitely, but I'm learning how to cook it the way I like it.
Okay. Well, tell me some wins that we've got going this week and a little last week.
Last week and the week before felt very in control, very disciplined, and getting all my workouts in.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say those were the wins.
Good. Yeah. Getting into the routine of it and feeling like you're successfully executing, you know, and that's actually a lot of what my message is today, because, you know, everybody's in a different place in their journey and they all have to be, right? But there is one common thread throughout everybody's journey, and that's consistency and showing up consistently for yourself every single day. You cannot half-ass this and expect to see the results that you're hoping for. Now, there are some methods. Some people do hard cuts and they get really speedy results, and it's too hard of a cut to where they can't sustain that. And then they burn out, and then they go right back to gaining all that weight they lost really, really fast and then some. And that
Sure.
is all too common of a story that I've heard people do because we're being impatient. And one of the things I think people hesitate, and you can tell me if this was true for you, they hesitate to even start a process like this because they're not sure they're going to show up. They don't trust themselves because they've never had a process that was sustainable in the sense where they knew that they could live, just have a lifestyle like this and could live this day in and day out for the rest of their lives.
Sure.
So the reason why we have slow progress, and you know, 1 to 2 pounds a week is really the ideal pace. I mean, that's the pace that I go when I'm in prep. And I'm telling you, I'm going hard. I'm going hour and a half in the gym, doing cardio and super on point with my food. And I'm still 1 to 2 pounds a week because we are feeding me as much food as we can possibly feed and still get progress. If we go any faster than that, our body is not, we can't sustain it for 1. And 2,
Right.
we're going to lose muscle mass. We're not losing the right weight. And how many times have you heard a story where somebody's lost all the weight and they hit their goal number and they still weren't happy? They didn't feel good in their own skin. There was not form. There was not shape to them. They hit the number. So what does that number mean if you're still not happy? So it's interesting, the common denominator through people in the past on this program and even currently, I know a lot of us deal with the number on the scale and why won't it move? And how we have to get past that is just by how we feel and how our clothes are fitting us. You know, the feeling of like our energy and our gut being cleaner and our belly feeling lighter, and not having that 3 o'clock lull and feeling more energized, better energy in the gym. All of these things manifest first. Usually the scale is the last thing that's actually going to start moving. And I had posted them. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say that's actually one of the reasons why I joined your program is all of the other program. I've been dieting since I was in the womb, I think. And I've done every program there is countless times. And some of them I've had success, some of them didn't. But what I could never get from them is we focus, yes, so much on the scale
Yeah.
And when I added working out, the scale was my enemy, and everyone else was still focused on that scale. And until you come over to the fitness world and you spend time with, the same like-minded people, you guys are all, throw that damn thing out. We're going to measure. And it, the scale has a lot of power. And, when you work so hard and you step on the scale and you see a 0.8 gain, that's when I fly off the handle. I was like, well, screw it. I'm just going to go eat whatever it is I want, because all the work. So this time around, what's been different is the scale actually has gone up a couple times, but because I saw the measurements and your continued reassurance, pay attention to the measurements, I didn't sabotage myself. I didn't go, okay, screw it. I'm just going to fly off the handle. I still, had some extra here and there. My problem's the alcohol, but I, was definitely way in more control over it. And the scale didn't affect my mood.
That's amazing. Like, that's exactly what I want to help people through that hurdle, that scale. I am heavier than most even competitors at my stage weight than they are in off season. Like, the scale is just higher than people ever guess on me. And I feel good in my skin. I feel shapely. I feel lean. I've gone and gotten that DEXA scan, and I would encourage a lot of people to go get one of those scans, because that is what is going to be a true measurement of what it is that scale is weighing.
Yes,
We've got the muscle mass and we have body fat. Like, if I said, I want to weigh 135 pounds, and that should be very doable for someone of 5'6" stature. What that would take for me to do is losing muscle. There's no way I could lose enough. I don't have enough body fat on my body to get to that number. So that number is just not in the cards for me. It would be completely unhealthy to get there. And if that's all I focused on, then I would start to tear into my lean muscle. Then what happens? This is the biggest concern about eating into your lean muscle. Your lean muscle is what burns your calories at rest. So the more muscle you have, the more you can consume and enjoy things without gaining weight quickly. So the name of the game should be nothing about the scale and everything about gaining muscle, so that it will utilize your body fat for energy, and you can eat as much as possible. Like, who wants to be on a 1,200 calorie diet? That's no one.
It blew my mind at the calories you had me on. It blew my mind.
Yeah, and you're still
it's
getting
all the right things. I just can't believe. I mean, at my lowest of calorie counting on the other diets, 1,000 calories, and I'd be coming in going, I'm starving. I am so hungry. And they'd be like, well, maybe add a few ounces of protein. And I'd be like, I'm going to eat everything in the house, So having it structured around my activity has been so eye-opening.
Yeah, that is a huge key, is where do you place this stuff? So I have treats. I synchronize my workouts with kind of my cravings and my treats. I'm going to do a big back day or a leg day maybe even around my cycle, where I get those cravings.
Right.
I don't necessarily want to deny myself those things that I crave, but I'm going to strategize, and I'm going to do a bigger workout during that time where I feel like I'm having those cravings, because I might have a little extra of this, or I might dip into that. And that's okay, and I don't get affected by that, because I strategize with my workouts to compensate. And I do not by any means want people to go into the gym and punish themselves for eating whatever it is that you just ate. The gym should never, ever be a punishment. It is a tool. It is a place to love ourselves and give our body what it is it needs to attain the goals that we've set.
I agree. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to walk in there.
It's a responsibility, honestly. It's a responsibility that we have to our bodies to exercise it, to build it in such a way that it is going to work at its absolute optimal level. And I don't think we give our bodies enough credit on what it really is meant and capable of doing. And so to really feed our body the right, like right now I'm sitting next to all the supplements that I got, and I'm giving my body even more immune support because we just got off a plane and we're around a bazillion people for 5 or 6 days, and we want to keep our immune systems high. We want to fight off anything we came in contact with. We're resting, we're going to the gym, we're listening to our bodies. All of these things are things that our body needs for it to be able to do what it was designed to do. And if we don't have faith in that, then the whole system is going to fall apart and it's not going to work for you. Our minds and our belief, which is just a thought that you keep thinking. So think about that. If we are still getting hung up on certain things, or we still are dealing with limiting beliefs, a belief is just a thought that we keep thinking. So we need to shift our thoughts, attach a different story to when we go to the gym. I get to go to the gym. I love going to the gym because it does XYZ for my body and my mind and my emotions. I love eating this plate of whole food right here that I know this whole plate, huge plate of food right here, isn't going to make me gain 1 ounce. In fact, it will lean me out even more. And I'm going to feel amazing. This collagen and probiotics.
Telling myself, food is fuel.
It is fuel.
It's been getting me through.
Yeah, and you enjoy it. Like you find a way to enjoy it. Like you said, you're learning different ways of preparing things that you enjoy them. And it just takes time to figure out what those things are. And plus, you change. Your palate changes. Sometimes I'm all about the sweet potato. Other times I'm all about white rice or brown rice. Sometimes I'm all about green beans versus asparagus. How I prepare my asparagus, I don't cook it before I put it in a prepped container and take it with me. It's raw. And then when I microwave it, it's cooked perfectly. It's not mushy and gross. I have the perfect seasoning that my palate loves. And I know when I cook it like this, I'm going to likely eat it over and over and over again.
One of the problems I'm having is my job is all over the place. So I'm packing, like I'm actually on the road to Columbia today and going to be 2 days in Columbia. And so I've packed my cooler. I've got everything. I've got everything prepared, but like I'm on the road and then like I'm going to be going into a meeting around noon today, and I've got my lunch, but I'm not sure if I can microwave it anywhere. And so those have been my downfalls. And what I'm doing instead of substituting, because I just didn't know how much I could substitute, is sometimes I'll skip my meal because or I'll eat it cold. I've done that, but I'm not getting all the way through it. Sometimes I'm like, nope, you'll just eat it cold. And everybody, I've taken it into restaurants, and, I'm staying committed to it. But once in a while, like the other day, I heard you say something about those egg bites at Starbucks. So I have around 10 o'clock, I have my egg whites and my avocado, and I stopped at Starbucks and picked those up because if I know I wasn't going to eat them cold because it just doesn't sound good cold. So just little things like that would be helpful.
Gas stations have microwaves. I mean,
convenience
stores, I've been in many of them. You don't have to buy anything to use their microwave.
Just go in there and okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to tell you to go away.
Yeah, no, I've called hotels. I'm starting to call hotels and be like, do you guys have microwaves? I'm finding the places where I can try to get my food in so I don't go off.
Absolutely. I don't like eating cold food either. I have, and I will, because it's a small price to pay for what I know I'm going to achieve and receive when I give my body the things. And I know mentally I'm going to be more proud of myself. I won't beat myself up. It's a mental game. Something, if you're staying in a hotel and you're driving to a hotel, if you have an air fryer, bring your air fryer. You just plug it into the wall and it does everything you need it to do.
Oh, that's
Just
a great idea.
bring it with you. That's what Amy did whenever she did the show. I'm usually flying to wherever I'm doing my show. So I have to go buy a microwave and use it in the hotel room. And then I take it back. And then I wasn't able to take it back at one point. So the universe provided a person who needed a microwave literally in my path, and I just gave it to them. It was a $50 microwave. And for me, that's a small price to pay to have warm meals and to stay on track with my stuff. You know, we have these thoughts and these limiting beliefs, like I said before, that we can't do that. Why can't we do that? Why can't we bring an air fryer into our hotel room? Why can't we go into a convenience store? I mean, most convenience stores at this point have microwaves. And so
Yeah.
why is that like against the rules in our mind, you know? And it's just really thinking outside the box on how we're going to achieve these things. I've gone into restaurants, I've asked them to warm things up for me. Where there is a will, there is a way. And we have to be careful with what decisions we have already made before we've attempted to achieve something. Like, it's a balance between recognizing what you want and what you need to do. You don't want to eat these things cold. So you already decided, well, I'm not going to eat these cold, instead of I will allow the universe to put in my path a way to microwave my egg whites. I know there will be some option at the time that I need it, and trusting that there is always going to be, I mean, very rarely have I ever been in a situation where I could not microwave my stuff. Very, very rarely. So keep that in mind. Bring your air fryer with you, especially you could even maybe have a smaller air fryer. I have a big one that I keep in my home on my counter. And then I do have a small one that you could use if you travel a lot for travel.
Right.
Reheat things, you can cook things, you can crisp things. It can do a bazillion things. And it's better.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
It's better than microwaving for sure. You know, microwaving, it nukes all the nutrients out of your food anyway. I don't like necessarily using a microwave. I will try to reheat all my stuff in the air fryer if at all possible.
Sure.
And then there was another thought I had. So when you're giving your body all of these things that you know it needs, it's going to start continuing to operate at a new level. And that's just going to become the norm. And you're no longer going to be concerned about the scale going down, because you're going to be it's going to be worth what you are feeling, with the energy, the confidence, seeing the muscle come through. The measurements are going down. Some are going up. Listen, look at your measurements. And if you have some go down and some go up, is it the shoulders going up? Is it the booty going up? Great. Is it the bicep going up?
Right.
Is it then the waist going down? And then you look at your weight and it hasn't changed. Well, no shit, it hasn't changed, because you're gaining muscle and you're losing body fat. You're transforming your physique. So the scale doesn't know that it's weighing muscle now and not fat.
Right.
So that's why we just really have to put into perspective. And a lot of people, I just say, I don't want to even know what you weigh. Don't even put it away. I've had husbands hide the scale from their wives. I'm like, seriously, you need to find somewhere. She cannot find this.
I've been on a journey with that damn scale. It's been in the trash a few times. I've bought it a few times. I've got a code word, but I'm not allowing it to affect my mood since starting this. So before, it would cause a giant mood swing, and then I was going to eat my feelings. And this time around, I'm like, nope, it doesn't, like just you said, it's not measuring it's not measuring the right things, and focus on the measurements, not this. And I had a win and move forward.
That's exactly right. Like this scale, I don't know. And I wish, and as I journey through this with everyone and through the years of doing coaching, I am going to find why we are so hung up on the scale. Why?
I've thought about it a lot, because I've done Weight Watchers. I've done professional weight management. I've done Weight Watchers 3 or 4 times. I've done metabolic, all the programs in Springfield, and all of them. I mean, there's even a damn bell up there by the scale, like Do you know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong. I mean, on my journey, I've lost 100 pounds in the last 5 years. I on this journey, and one of those programs helped me get there. But once, like you said, you hit, okay, maintenance, or those programs didn't teach me long term. They taught me, I learned a lot, and they got me in the right direction, but it wasn't sustainable in the long run. And
Exactly.
and there we are celebrating the scale with a bell. And so once I crossed over into maintenance and the scale started going up, it was negative reinforcement at that point.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Like, I'm curious thank you for sharing that. I was so curious as like, was it when we were growing up and our mothers would weigh ourselves, or when we go to the doctor and the scale, they say something. And then, a lot of people, bodybuilders especially, when they go do that DEXA scan, they're borderlining obese.
Right. And here they are,
9%, 8% body fat because of the number that
yes,
like
that damn height scale. And
our system, it's a broken system, and we've got to throw it out, and we have to really tap in to our guidance and to ourselves. I'm listening to this book, and it's called The Audacity to Be Queen. It's incredible. I'm only even into the first chapter, and it's just, to me, it's very affirming, but it's giving us permission, which we don't need it, but we need to definitely give it to ourselves. The buck stops and starts with us. Not our spouse, not our partners, not our children, and not our jobs. It does not revolve around those things. We need to be the core, the anchor, the center, and all of those other things are either going to fall away or it's going to adjust. And it's going to adjust in such a way that it works even better, and we manage these things in a more appropriate and prioritizing way than we ever did before. We have so much more to give, so much more to tap into when we put ourselves first. And there is a level of discomfort when it comes to putting yourself first. But every single time I have to tell my children, no, I can't do this. Like the night we got back from vacation, my son Pilot, which he's the one you always see on my stories. Super consistent, loves it. I told him I will never tell you no when it comes to going to the gym. I told him no. I said, son, it's 9:30 at night. We have been traveling and doing things all day from Florida and now here. I was like, we are going to go first thing. I rain checked him and said, we'll go first thing in the morning. But I had to tell him we have to be balanced. We need our rest. We need just the mental break from, my house, it's super clean when I come home, but all of our luggage and I'm unpacking and laundry and this and the packages from the, getting delivered in the mail and all that. And it's like, I am here. We're going to do this. And then in the morning we committed to doing it. And it was a good lesson, I think, for him to know that mom's always going to take care of herself first. And if she's not in a place where she can go do this and wants to, she's going to take care of herself first. And they appreciate that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've kind of, with activity, I've kind of crossed over into an unhealthy place sometimes, not a lot. Kind of flirt with that line of over exercising because it was tied to the scale. And lately I've been like, okay, no, I can build a rest day in 1 or 2 days because I know my nutrition's on point. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay to rest, or I'm okay to, high intensity cardio. I'm like, there's other ways to get a good quality workout and a good burn without having to exhaust my body. And so I'm learning to try to build in some rest days.
Good. That rest is where all the magic happens. So we go into the gym, we do all of these things, and then we've got all the things we do in the gym cannot work if we don't then give it rest. These two synergistically work together. So we tear down the muscle, we fatigue ourselves, And then we've got to give our body that time to just do its magic. And
Right.
that is where all of those things happen. Like the high intensity interval training, could we burn more calories in an hour of steady cardio? Technically, yes. But
Right.
it releases more cortisol. It will make us age faster. Our body's cortisol level increases to an unhealthy level. And then we can also start tapping into lean muscle, which then is taking away our ability at rest to burn calories. So it becomes very counterproductive when we do that. But high intensity interval training, it burns the calories that it's going to burn in that 20 or 30 minutes that we do it. But then during the rest of the time, it's kind of like creating a way of passive income. It's like getting it to work for you when you're not working.
Yes, I know. I keep telling myself that. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself when I can, not that doing weights isn't difficult or anything like that, or focusing on a body part, but sometimes I'll do a full hour of cardio and I'm like, and just doing 45 minutes over here with weightlifting is twice as good.
Heck yeah, man. Cardio or weightlifting is cardio. I mean, my heart is like,
yes,
coming up, going down, coming up, going down. And it's very,
true.
and I don't even say the word sufficient, but it is more than sufficient.
Yes.
For your body. Like, think about your life. How do you want to live it? Do you want to live it in a gym? No, I don't even live in a gym. I work in a gym and I don't live in a gym. Like, we're just doing these things so that we can go out and live life in other ways. And we're perfectly capable of it. One of the biggest prisons, I believe, that we can get in is to not have the energy to do the things that we want to do to enjoy life. We are really here for the experience. If you just love the gym, I need to swallow something.
No, you're okay.
If, like my son and I, we went yesterday morning, I told him we would, and he was just like, oh, this feels so good. Like, to see him just like relish in the feeling that he gets when he's in the gym. This was not punishment to him. This was not him saying, oh, I ate so bad, or I took too much time off. Our body often grows and we lose weight when we are at rest. It's like super cool to be able to passively be fit when we're chilling. This whole week in Florida, we had active rest days. We napped, we walked everywhere, we rode the waves, and we got beat to crap out in the ocean. Like, there was and we ate and we ate and we drank. It was just like, we just enjoyed and did not think anything about it. And then we went to the gym and felt great there. And we didn't you could only do so much in a hotel gym. So we just, what we knew was like, oh, this feels good. We're going to pump our, body up here and here and here, and just had a great time together. And when you do life like that, I stepped on the scale this morning because I was just curious. I feel like I might be a little inflamed because I got a little too much sun. So my skin's a little swollen. And then I'm holding water from traveling, from flying, stuff like that. Yeah. And I weigh the same as when I left.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't care. It's just really, really more a curiosity. So if you treat the stepping on the scale as more like a curiosity and not an end all be all, this will dictate every mood I have today.
Right.
That is just, I'm just everything in life that scares us, or we have maybe some triggers around and some thoughts that don't make us feel great. If we turn life into just a curiosity, it really lightens all of that weight that we put on certain ideas and certain experiences that we go through in life. And I'm curious.
Actually, that's this program that my husband's like, because I taught, instructed fitness classes, and I've been in every program. He was a little like, oh, you're going to invest in another program. And I was like, I'm really curious because I've been doing it this way and I'm beating my head against the wall. I'm really curious if I do this and I listen to another, like you said, another mindset, another approach, I'm curious about what's going to happen. And honestly, that's been driving me of like, okay, measure, the measurements so far, they're matching. It's worth it. Keep going. Don't negotiate.
No, yeah. And the excuses that we can come up with. That was one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about was, yes, the scale, because we have check-ins just recently, and be cautious. Hold on. Think about when you email me or you text me before you send those pictures. What are you saying about your check-in? I get sometimes, oh, not like I wanted it to be, or not as great as I had hoped, or no, we must say out there, we have to give our words, they have power, and we have to say, this is really interesting. I noticed this. So therefore, I think maybe I need to do this differently, or I need to adjust or dial this in. And I'm really glad about this, and this. This is very good. I'm happy about that. Not to say we're not going to identify maybe what needs to change, but we must first become in the habit of looking at them in a positive way, finding the positive things about it, instead of having this negative instant sentence before I even see the pictures and the measurements. I actually don't read anything first, and I look at the pictures and I look at the measurements first. Then I go and I read what everybody writes me when because this is their mindset. This is where you're at when it comes to your progress. The more you stay in the negative, guess what? That's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to keep getting. So if we can shift that and look at the growth and the positivity and the movement that we've made, that's why we talk about our wins, because it's not all about the numbers either, gals. It is, how are we feeling? How are we changing and growing and evolving into a lifestyle that's going to support a good quality of life? That's what it's about, is the quality of life that we're living. Because what do we want ultimately at the end of the day? To be happy, right? And what do we think is going to make us happy? Is it to be thinner, to fit in a size 4? Is it to see the number on the scale? That's not where all of our happiness can lie. We can actually shift what makes us happy before any of that happens. And then all of that will happen. What we give our attention to is what we're going to get more of. So we give our attention to this not happening, that not happening like we wanted it to. Guess what? It's going to just keep coming. Things like that are just going to keep on coming. So I really encourage, and I know a lot of people are listening to this too on the replay. I expect very different perspectives and sentences and assessments of your check-ins when they come in next week, because how you look at these is going to be a big reflection on how you really even look at life in all situations. And so that has been a huge life lesson on even talking in general, like, well, I don't want this to happen. You just want to state what you do want to happen. The universe does not know the no part. It just knows you're focusing on what it is you don't want. That's what you're going to get more and more of.
Right.
And you know that. I know that you have that same perspective and philosophy, but to apply it sometimes, like we know in here, we know here, and we even know in here. But applying that and recognizing just even those little things. How do I even view my check-ins? Do we have a negative feeling when it comes to sending it?
Right.
I will never, ever just rip someone apart with their check-in. That check-in has more weight in a way where it's like, are you being disciplined? Are you being consistent? Are you showing up like you said you were? You committed and invested into this program. Are you fully showing up? And when you fully show up in your check-ins, you're going to more likely follow through and show up on your daily workouts, on your food prep.
Accountability is honestly, it's probably the most important thing for me is accountability, because left alone, I will do what you said. I have a very growth mindset. I'm all about, but we're human, and you slide down into that negativity, real easy. Or, like you said, just if there's a will, there's a way. If I really want to microwave my food, I'll figure out a way. If I want to go, I don't want to eat it cold it's really just an excuse so I can go substitute something.
It really is. And I'm not like that. That's like, I know that, like, it's not, nothing has ever even surprised me when someone tells me something. And sometimes they may think they're actually getting like one over on me. And it's just like, I've been doing this a really long time and have probably used about every excuse in the book myself. Right. So it's kind of
an excuse, friend. Yeah.
it is. And okay, so it is. So let's recognize that and then make a different choice, because is what we want more important than having that whatever we substitute it for? If you want something like that bad, do your treat meal. Do that on your treat meal. And that treat meal has a lot of purpose too. If someone is not doing their treat meal, they need to tell me, because I need everyone to be doing their treat meal, because this is a lifestyle. This is a practice. I want everyone to be able to work in that treat meal, because it gives us flexibility in life. If we've got a graduation, a wedding, a reunion, whatever, an anniversary, and we're so rigid on following this plan, and we can't get outside of it. And if we do get outside of it, we're going to completely fall off the wagon. It is an all or nothing thing. Like, that is no way to live life, because you're going to be constantly in this state of angst, and any second you're just going to fall off the wagon. That we have to have more confidence. We have to have more sustainability and more consistency than that. So those treat meals, I want to help guide everybody into working their treat meals in strategically in their journey. That is going to give them the most optimal results, because this is a lifestyle. This isn't just a weight loss program. In fact, there are people in this that are not on a weight loss journey. They are on a build muscle journey, so it's everyone's is different. This is, how do I make these choices that are going to serve me, always serve me in my goals, and not work against me in my goals? And if you can ask yourself that question, does this serve me on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, or is this going to harm me? And if you recognize that it's going to harm you, weigh why do I believe that this is going to harm me? Like stepping on the scale. If you're like, I'm just not going to step on the scale this week, and you come to me and you're like, Leah, I did my measurements, I'm just not going to go on the scale this week, and this is why, this is how it's serving me, that I'm not going to focus on this number that I know is not really going to hold any positive weight for me. And that's serving you. Not doing something is serving you. And I'll be like, cool. I've even thought about taking that completely out of the check-in situation. But what I want is not to completely avoid something that's very triggery. I want to remove the trigger. I want to disconnect the button that triggers us.
Well, you're helping me as somebody who's lived and died by the scale and associated that with my value for too much of my life. For the first time ever in 2 weeks, I have not sabotaged, because I'm like, it's just a number. The measurement is more important. And I was 99% on point, and I'm proud of what I did.
That is really good. I love that you do for food journal, and that it's another level of accountability that you do for yourself. You talked about the alcohol. I'd like to have a conversation about that, because
the alcohol.
What?
I said, the alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes. I enjoy beverages for sure. I'm doing everything I can I'm definitely drinking a lot less. I don't know if you share here, and we don't have to go any further, but I really appreciated your vulnerability on your private Facebook page about your story. And I have a very similar story, and come a really, 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 really long way. in the last 15 years with addiction and different things.
Yeah.
And it's a vice. It is. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a vice. It's not, I'm not at an unhealthy place, but it's been kind of like food. It's been such a staple in my life, and it's just something I really do enjoy. And yeah.
What is it? When is it that you're consuming it, and what is going on?
I really only drink on the weekends, and I would say it's honestly, yeah, happy hour is something I look forward to and count down the days to. So
Okay.
I don't drink during the week. I just never have. I'm not a daily drinker. I just, when I get to the weekends and I work really hard, in my professional career and all of it, I work really, really hard. And so I think it's a way to unwind and kind of take an edge off of life a bit.
Okay. If you have a similar story as me, and I'm an open book, like I'll talk about all kinds of, things. And I was very dependent on prescription pain meds and muscle relaxers and sleeping medications. And it almost took my life a couple times.
Yeah.
And then when those things ran out, I would have to go to alcohol because I just couldn't handle the withdrawal. And, but alcohol has never been my drug of choice. It was just turned into that. And it's interesting. It's like the only one that we don't question why people are using it. It's
legal.
Socially acceptable. Yeah. It's so socially acceptable. And one of the most dangerous ones because of that. And so I would really challenge you to change the belief that you have that you need to unwind from your week. Because if there are things going on in your week that cause you to count down the days to that happy hour, something in your week must change.
Yes, I agree with you. And I've recently I actually quit instructing fitness classes, and I recently changed jobs. I was on an antidepressant and for some trauma that happened a few years ago. And so decided to wean myself off, kind of had some moments of like, I don't probably need to be walking around unmedicated. Went back to the doctor and their answer was take more Xanax. And I'm like, holy shit, like that cannot be the answer. So I reevaluated life and was like, my plate's too full. And I, like you said, why am I drinking so heavily on the weekend to compensate my week? Like there's got to be another way to live. So I actually kind of got off the job train and changed some things, and my stress level is lower and the need to drink is less. I'm still obviously drinking, but the why and the reason is changing. And I am questioning, this isn't making me feel good. I work so hard all week. I feel great. Why am I, continuing to do it? So I'm working on that vice.
I challenge you, and there's nothing wrong with needing to unwind. There really isn't. And you have so many tools with what it is that you do, and the fitness instructor, and I've taken a couple of your classes. You're so good at tapping into really this self-awareness and I know I was like, well, there's a story there. Whenever I took your class a couple of times, I knew there was a story there, and it's very similar to mine, and there were things literally had to change who I was in relationship with, had to leave a relationship. It was very abusive. It was very unhealthy. And I did not trust myself. I had quit drinking, even alcohol, years before I even filed for divorce, because I knew it wasn't serving me. So I would talk to my husband at the time. I'm like, I really would like us to just not drink, because it caused a lot of conflict when we were inebriated in any way, even just a little bit. Filter came off. Our frontal cortex was not keeping the things that we do not need to say out of our mouth in the mouth. And it was harming our relationship to a point where you just can't unring that bell.
No, my first marriage, same. Yeah. Got out, same. Yeah. The last day I the day I decided to leave was, yes, a very drunken, unhealthy, yeah, same thing. I totally get that. And so I've come a long way.
Absolutely. And I don't want to not recognize that, but I know that you have more to go, because I know that you want to be free from that need to have alcohol. Now, do you desire? Sure. The why is going to shift, and it is shifting. So I just encourage you to lean even more and more into that. Alcohol will not serve you in the least when it comes to your fitness journey. And you know that. I'm just going to reiterate that, confirm that for you. It 100% will not serve you in any way. And in fact, can affect your sleep, your recovery, and it can slip you deeply into depression, because it is a depressant. And that was one of the biggest things. When I would wake up the next morning, I had this overwhelming anxiety, and it was just huge anxiety. And I just didn't want to feel that anymore. And I wanted control. I wanted to be in control of all the things that I was choosing. And I just kind of wanted, it was like, I was curious. I'm curious.
Can I live without this?
I'm curious what will happen if I give that up. How far will I go? How much more progress will I make? How much more clear of decisions can I make? My decision to leave was stone cold sober. I was not running for something. I was going to something. And so it took me years to reconcile that inside me, to not be running away from my marriage, but I was going towards my freedom, to be able to step into my most authentic space that I knew I could have done it when I was still with him, but there would have been so much I would be fighting off that I honestly don't think I would have stepped as well into my most authentic place that I am right now. I am super high flying in my vibe a lot of the time, and I was being squelched and bombarded with narcissistic abuse to the point where I didn't respect myself anymore. I didn't have value. I didn't have worth. And I eventually just picked myself up by my big girl panties, and I said, this is it. We're done. I know I deserve more than that. And it wasn't me saying, I'm going to find another man that's going to treat me well. It's, I'm going to treat myself the way I know I need to be treated. And so I feel like I have found that worthiness within myself, and then whatever I have around me is just bonus. And there's strong boundaries on who I allow in that circle, because I trust my gut and I trust myself so much. I will get guys reach out to me on like direct message me and stuff, and hey, are you interested, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm single, but man, I like being single. I love being alone. And it's not because I fear relationship. I don't at all, but I'm so comfortable and just happy that there's nothing.
I get it. I probably the most healthiest I've ever been is I left my marriage, and I did get remarried, and I'm very, very happily married, but the most healthiest version of me is alone. Yes. Not necessarily being free of a relationship, but living my life, with on your terms.
Yes.
All the time, no compromise. It's really, besides your children, of course, but it's very empowering.
It's very empowering. And I think this Audacity to be queen, I challenge you to listen to that, because
I'm going to. I love to listen to books.
I'll put the link in the group, but I just feel like this is just solidifying what I've already been feeling. And that I think a lot of us, when we start this journey, is we're tapping into that. We get a glimpse of that. We understand that there's power within us. We need to tap into that more. We're getting more and more clarity. We're getting more and more confidence. And it's not connected to how we look. It's not connected to the size we wear or the number on that scale, that we are worthy and we have that value without all of these external conditions. And one of the biggest journeys that I've been on is to become unconditional, and wanted to be unconditional in my love for myself, unconditional in my love for others. And that has been one of the best journeys as well, to learn how to not look at all of this other stuff. It's the minutia around us, and just truly
Right.
stepping into that is really what has catapulted me. I leveled up in my fitness journey over this last prep that I did my show in December, and I've stayed there. It wasn't like once I got out of prep, everything went back to where I was.
Right.
It just stayed there. And I truly believe that that's from all the inner work that I've been doing since it's been a little over a year that I've been in this home. It's been 2.5 years since we broke up, and to be able to, I have not dated anyone. I have really just been super comfortable with who I am and where I'm at, to where then I know then the person that's going to be that person is just gonna come along when I least expect it. And I won't feel like I have to compromise myself. I won't feel like that I'll have to give up anything that I do for me,
Absolutely.
because that is gonna be, that's a really important element. Then the confidence that I have into my happiness alone is.
And now that you can trust yourself, I had to learn this as I moved into my next relationship is, you know, my husband calls it resetting because of so much trauma. And it's like, okay, I have to check and make sure, am I trusting myself? Am I respecting my boundaries? Are you pushing because you're so scared from where you came from that you're like, I don't want to make the same mistake. I don't want to pick the wrong person. So hold on, let me double check. So I put up a wall, and then it's like, okay, I'll take it back down. All right, you're safe.
Yeah.
So I get the journey. It's one hell of a journey, you know?
Yeah. But that's what's so cool. And I think trusting, that's one of the things that we all collectively want and desire, is have a trust in ourselves to show up the way that we want to, in our minds and in our hearts, want to show up big. We can see all these other people. Like, I know Amy has been a huge inspiration, because man, she's a larger than life personality. She's tiny little gal, but she's got a big personality, and she goes big or goes home. And she left it all out on the table, and just even being willing to fail on something, you know, just to go for it, and being willing to fail and learn all of those lessons along the way, is trusting yourself as well.
Yeah.
But we can't ever get there if we don't go for it, if we don't commit to it, and just forget all of the fears, all of what are people going to think, how are people going to receive this. You just got to do it for you, and the right people are going to come, and the wrong people are going to fall away. And that's how you pick and choose and weed those people in and out of your life, is just put your blinders on and just go for you. And those people, I know a lot of people have fallen away, but then there's been such amazing people enter my life that I'm like, wow, like I did not know, this is next level stuff. No idea the power that I had within me. And that's one of the limiting beliefs I know I deal with, is my ability to support myself, just me, and not depend on anybody else. You know, like I have the power to not just do this, but to do this in abundance, you know, to do this above and beyond whatever my wildest dreams were. So I get it. We all have those beliefs that we're breaking through those barriers. And I really appreciate you sharing yours. And I hope you share more of this process with us, because, and how you've not been able to do one of these calls.
I know. Every time I was like work, and then last week I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna finally make it, and I was like, oh shoot, she changed it.
I know.
But this week was perfect. So
good. I'm so glad, because I was like, let me know a time we can just.
I know. I was like, and then I was like, no, I think I'm gonna be able to make this one. So
oh, that's so perfect. Well, I appreciate you making this one, and I know it makes a difference, right? Like you felt.
Oh gosh, yes. No, I started to negotiate. I'm going to Colorado next week, and I've got all my I'm going to meal prep all tomorrow night. And I'm like planned it out, and I've got all my, everything in little baggies so I can put it in my backpack, and we're going to be very active, but I started to negotiate like, well, I'll just, it's no big deal. I'll just and then I knew that's why I making sure I connected with you. Cause I'm like, I need that. I need a backup because I'm starting to 2.5 weeks. I was good. I was like, I'm disciplined. I got it. And then I started to be like, I'm hungry. I want to eat something that's not on plan, and not because I'm hungry, because I'm not eating enough, but just, it is not that I want the whole world to know, but around the monthly time of oh my God, that's real thing.
I know, man. I get so many cravings, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm out of my mind right now.
Yes.
I wanted to suggest something though for the alcohol thing. Something that I have found has been very beneficial. It's a non-alcoholic alternative, and it's called, hold on, I want to get the name right. And they're like little bottles. It's like they're 2 ounces. Botanical. Okay, here it is. botanictonics.com. It's it's a plant solution. Girl, this stuff is magic. Like if you feel like you just have to just chill and relax, like half of one is going to give you energy, and then a whole one is going to chill you out. And I'm not kidding you when I say that. And when it's an all natural thing, that natural things are very powerful. Like, I don't think we give nature its due recognition, because it is very powerful. And it's not as addictive as the alcohol can be. In fact, I don't think it has an addictive element to it. But it is a great, healthy alcohol alternative. I learned about this from another coach who is like me in the brunette form. It's so crazy. I watch her and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're like the same person. But she introduced me to this, and I was just like, ooh, I'm going to try that for my alcohol is a thing. Like, it's a lot of people deal with it. So don't feel like you're alone.
In January, I did a dry January for the first time in my entire life of adulthood, because since the age of 21, some kind of substance has been utilized. And so I did a dry January and really committed to it. I read that Habits book during that. Atomic Habits during that. And I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about the process, and of just kind of pushing myself, setting a goal, doing something that I'd never done before. And kind of walked away with that I'm just gonna be honest with you, Lee. I'm gonna be honest with the universe here. I was like, this is stupid. But I hadn't changed my life yet. I hadn't changed my stress level. And so I probably will try it again. And I know it shouldn't be all or nothing, but I do really well with setting a goal. So like if I set a goal to say, hey, I'm gonna, maybe do a dry August or something. I do really well with that. So I may set another goal again to try it again now that my life is more in control. I think my mindset would walk away a little bit different. Instead of this is stupid, I may not walk away with that. And I think it was just because my stress level was so high.
Oh yeah. You weren't ready to hear it. You weren't ready to receive
So you're right. And I wasn't ready to hear it.
And so, but it was enough for you to go and not, I got to give you credit. Not a lot of people will change that kind of a thing and change jobs and do this. Some people had a phone call with someone who was just like, my family, if they rely on me to carry the insurance, I'm like, well, do you think that there is an alternative to this insurance? You do not have to kill yourself here because your family is relying on you for the health insurance. Like, there is a way where you do not, this is not how we are meant to live. You are circling the drain, and there's things that have to change, but it's the willingness to change those things. And I really have to applaud you for being willing to change those things. And I guarantee, I just feel like you will totally hear that book differently. And the Audacity Be Queen, I think, is also going to be a huge step in the right direction and empowerment and just affirmation that you're going the right direction. You'll be completely free. When you have an addiction, when you have addictive personality or tendencies, you cannot just stop them. You have to replace them. You have to channel those things somewhere else. And you did it when it came to excessive working out. You still are dealing with some all or nothing mentality. And that is kind of from our addictive personality. And I'm speaking of myself as well. I am an all or nothing person tendency, but I am blending that it's not all or nothing. It's just always something. And that consistency is really the key on doing it. So if you do a dry August, then, and you are like, I'm good.
Yeah. It's funny each week, especially since I've been cutting back, there's been a lot of, I don't know if I even enjoy this. Like, this isn't, and maybe one, but I tend to, 3, 4, 5, and so it's not enjoyable at that point. I'm drinking to forget, or drinking because of pain, or drinking because of struggle, instead of drinking to elevate my mood. And, oh, life is good, let's celebrate. And I've got I'm learning, I'm on the journey, and I'm listening to it, and I'm open to it. And I definitely am cutting way back than I normally do. I know that's hard to believe, but I am honest about my food journal, where I'm like, well, that's how many I had.
You're at, and a lot of the time it's changing your environment, because if you have the similar environment, then it's just like addicts who go to rehab and they're taken out of where they were used, and they're in their rehab situation and they're great, they're doing great, but then they get out of rehab, they go to that same environment, and it's like all of these habits and triggers and things that they did, and it goes right back. And it's like, how is that? So we've got to be very, very cognizant of the situation that we put ourselves in, because we just know that there is a habit that we will just fall into. Smoking was one of them for me. And honestly, I was around my cousin who smoked over the week, and I can't say that I was not tempted, if I'm being completely honest. But I know myself. I know if I did that, I would go right back to a pack a day, probably within a week. And I haven't smoked in years. So I just had to remove, I couldn't sit out there and talk with her when she smoked a cigarette sometimes. I had to just remove myself from the situation and go do something that it was totally took my mind.
And I like this alcohol alternative, because I do have, I do have some close people in my life that alcohol is a part of the routine. And unfortunately it's my husband, my family, like it's going to be hard to remove. However, I've done it with food. I can do the same thing with alcohol. When you're at a party and everybody wants to sabotage you, aren't you gonna have a piece of cake? No. Sometimes I just have something in my hand, or you've learned to have a cup in your hand, or you learn to get you learn to trick people. Or I like to say I'm allergic, and you know what? People back off when you say I'm allergic. They're like, what do you mean? And I go, well, my ass swells up. And they start laughing and then they stop trying to get me to eat. They move right on. They're like, oh, okay, that's funny. And they move right on. But same with alcohol. And I like that.
Yeah.
The alternative, because I can have a drink. They'll think I'm drinking, and they'll leave me alone and not be like, aren't you going to have a drink? They'll be like, oh, she's got a drink. They don't have to know that it's not alcoholic.
I brought one of them to a 4th of July party that some of my friends were having. We had not gotten together in a long time. And I mean, these are people we partied, we would drink, we would have a time. I mean, blackout drunk at times. They've seen me at my worst. So they now see the fitness Leah, and they're just like, wow, you're doing just like so amazing from when we first even met you. And I'm a huge person about balance, and I feel like strategy is a huge thing about what I just even preach. And so I brought one of those tonics with me, and they're like, oh, we got beer over here. We got one of my friends, he makes his own moonshine.
Yeah.
It was like 90 proof. I'm like, I will be on my ass if I have that. I appreciate it, but I'm sure it tastes great. I just cannot go there. And I was like, see, I got my own thing. I'm like, you should try this. And then I like kind of like reverse the pressure. I'm like, no, try it. It's great. And so I gotta be honest, it tastes horrible. It is, you just gotta shoot it. You just shoot it and then be done. And you feel just relaxed and chill. And like, you just drink water along with it if you want.
Yeah.
And, you know, people leave you alone and you feel like you've had, it's like
Right.
equivalent to a glass or two of wine, really. I'm really curious to get your take on it too, because
Yeah, no, I'll order some.
yeah, it's a great, it's a little on the pricier side, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, anything's worth not a hangover. So.
And I don't feel bad. I sleep perfectly, no hangover. There is no effects whatsoever when it comes to that at all. So very curious to get your take on it. So
yeah, no, I'll give it a try. I'm very willing. So, and any ideas are good ones. So
yeah. Well, awesome. Well, you let me know if you need any other connection support, and I'm excited for your trip and how you're going to navigate that. I just see success. I see success right now. I see it on your trip. And you know why I see success is not because you're willing to do prepping and taking it with you and getting rid. It's the change that's going on inside of you and the awareness that you have of, okay, this is something I deal with this, and just acknowledging it and being honest first with yourself. Like, that's why I see success for you.
My motto this week was, you can't be committed to your growth and your bullshit at the same time.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to post that in our group, because that is encouraging. It really is. Post that. Be like, just to share my FYI, this is my motto this week, because that is perfect.
Can't be committed to both of them, so I got to make a choice.
You do, and you ask yourself, you can have success or your excuses, not both.
Yep.
That's what I have on my wall every day. I look at that.
I know. That's whenever I saw you post that, I was like, oh, yes, a girl after my own heart.
All right, honey, I will let you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm so glad we were able to connect.
Yes,
Have
me
a
too.
good rest of the week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.